Okay, we just started the conference going. Hey, Rick, I'm having a little trouble. I'm trying to get onto the suite, so I'll just multitask a little bit here. I'm trying to get onto the video suite. I'm not sure, it's like running slow, so that's why you haven't seen me. But
yeah, bear with it. It should come on all right. It just takes sometimes a little time to get in, but that's good. We're looking forward to coming in, Josh. Just give it a little time to work through.
Okay, very good. So we have a very good, we're getting a little bit of feedback there. Hello, testing 1, 2. Can you guys hear me?
You sound great here in New York.
Okay, all right. Hey, neighbor. I'm in New York as well. Okay, Lyndi, are you there with us?
I am, yes.
Okay, so that's our guest, Lyndi. So we're going to go ahead and get started in just a moment. Let me just work through a little couple kinks on my end here. I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and start with a little bit of music, and then we'll go from there. So just bear with us, Lyndi. Hope you don't mind a little bit of rap music.
No problem.
Hey, Josh, try to adjust you. I believe we've got some problems with your sound, Josh.
Losing my religion because it lost me. Don't want to lose my head because I gotta be sane to maintain my identity. So I keep waving the flag of victory. Trapped in a cult for over 40 years. As an adult with childhood fears. Fear of Armageddon, fear of destruction. Satan the devil, demonic instruction. Fear of the elders, fear of leaving. Fear of staying in, fear of grieving. The family I will lose, the friends will be lost. Shunned if I choose. Such a great cause, must obey my conscience and not preach a lie. Millions now living will never ever die. Like Brother Farr said, and people sacrifice. Now they are dead, they wasted their life. But the Father observed, yes, he took note. They will be rewarded, they still have hope. But what about us, the ones left behind? Who do we trust, since control of our mind? Yeah. Losing my religion because it lost me. Don't want to lose my head because I gotta be sane to maintain my identity. So I keep waving the flag of victory. Trust in God, trust in His Son, trust the written word, not organization, not the false prophet, and then what to be. Misleading God's people with lies that they teach. 7 wicked men hold up in Brooklyn, taking in donations, calling it cooking, investing hedge funds, misappropriating money. Kingdom Hall thieves is really not funny. Time to move on, get out of here, my people. Babylon the Great, no longer we sheeple, no longer pushing carts, littering streets. Propaganda for the elite, a publishing company, a pyramid scheme, spinning your wheels, destroying your dreams. But now we know what's up, we see behind the curtain, not fooled by the lies. 7 frauds are working. Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody able to hear me?
Yes, Josh.
Okay, Rick, can you hear me okay?
Well, Josh, there's a lot of static. They can hear you on our radio line, but coming through on the video suite, I'm not sure what's going on. Do you have your microphone on? Are you trying to get into the suite?
No, I'm just called in regular on my phone, on my cell phone, but I don't have any kind of headset or Bluetooth. It looks like it cleared up now. Can you hear me?
It's a lot better right now, yeah. It's a lot better now, yeah. So we want to make it really good because we want people to hear this. Without good quality sound, nobody can hear. But it looks like we got you good now, Josh. Yep.
Okay, very good. So once again, thank you everybody for dialing into the Cult Free Network in collaboration with the Six Screens Telenetwork. This is the foundation of where everything starts here in the XJW community. We really work hard to try to keep the public informed about what's going on in the XJW community within the Watchtower and the things that people have to deal with that have doubts or that are trying to wake up from the cult, trying to leave the cult. There's many consequences that come with that. And, not everybody could do the same type of activism. I consider this activism. But just sometimes speaking out and sharing your experience and what you're going through is the best type of activism, because then people could hear what you're going through, can relate, and you'll be surprised. You'll find many times that you're not alone. So we have a very special guest today, Lyndi Malone. I'm going to try my best to do a good job today because she has some very important things that she wants to share with us. So, Lyndi, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad that you took the time out to come together with us and join us. We're so happy to have you, Miss Lyndi.
Well, I'm thankful to be able to speak out because I felt like I've been silenced for a long time, having my daughter kind of held hostage as a bargaining chip for the Watchtower, that if I spoke out, she might not talk to me. But she's already decided not to talk to me, so now I am free to go ahead and help everybody to make people aware of what the Watchtower does to families.
Oh, yes, definitely, and we're so glad once again. So, Lyndi, where are you calling us from? Where are you hailing out of?
I am in North Carolina.
North Carolina, okay. A couple states down from me. I'm here in Yonkers, New York, but I'm so glad, again, that you're with us. And have you been in North Carolina all your life? Is that where you're originally from?
No, my family actually moved around a lot, so I've lived kind of all over the country from the east to the west coast of the United States. So kind of gotten a good broad view of everything and moved around a lot. But I've been here for about 10 years.
You've been there for 10 years, okay. Mm-hmm. So how long has it been since you've been to an actual Kingdom Hall for a meeting?
Well, I actually quit going about 17 years ago, but I went back just this past summer because I thought I could, attempt to not have my daughter have to go through the decision to shun me and go ahead and just get my status changed to, reinstated instead of disfellowshipped so that she wouldn't have that pressure on her. But it did not work out so well.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. But ultimately, again, can you just remind me how long has it? So when did you ultimately? So you're not you're considered disfellowship right now.
Yeah, I believe I'm disfellowshipped or disassociated. I did write a letter to disassociate myself, but as I attempted to change my status, they did tell me I had a judicial committee I didn't show up to, so I believe I am disfellowshipped.
Oh, yeah, that's the new. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
it's funny how that has changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. But that was 17 years ago, and then it's been about 10 years that my mind has been free from them, and I've seen the truth behind the truth.
Oh, my goodness. So many people that leave the organization or are put out of the organization, they live in such torment for so many years because they still are held hostage mentally, spiritually, emotionally by the organization. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing that even when you're out, even when they don't want you, they still have you.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And Rick here, and he's the producer behind Six Screens. His wife has a saying that the Watchtower rents space in your head even after you're gone. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree, and that's why I want to get the word out so much, because the pain that people go through after coming out of it, you're all your friends, and then you kind of self-destruct because that's what they told you you're going to do. So for several years after I came out, it wasn't because I was enlightened or figured it all out. It was because during my pregnancy with the daughter who now shuns me, that was the year that they came out with the doctrine change of the 1914 generation that would not pass away. So it was during that pregnancy I read that little tiny snippet that they said, really we can't say that a generation is this or that or means anything. So I was like, wait a minute, are they saying, people like my great-grandma will not be alive when the end comes? Because that's what I had been taught from the day my mom became a Jehovah's Witness when I was 10. So I think that really hit me hard, but I didn't realize it. You're just supposed to accept it. So when I left, it was just due to I can't be a witness anymore. I can't handle it. I had postpartum depression with my daughter and just felt the weight of it all, the guilt of it all, and I thought, well, I'd rather just leave and die than be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. And I couldn't tell you why, except that I thought, well, I must be bad. I must not have a good heart. You know, Jehovah must not want me. And that's a very painful way to live. Several years of my life feeling like I was a living dead girl, you know.
Wow, like they have like the show, The Walking Dead, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
So are you married, Miss Lyndi?
Yep, I've been married to somebody who has never been a Jehovah's Witness for now almost 11 years. And he was a big part in helping me to clear my mind because at one point, before I had my mind cleared, it had been about 7 years, and I had my second daughter with him, and my mom came to visit, and my mom had shunned me this whole time previously, but she came to see the baby from states away, and she was staying with us. And I remember I was holding my infant daughter, and she looked at me and said, "You and your husband and your baby are all going to die in Armageddon, and I'll be in the new system with Shaylee, my other daughter." And it just made me, you know, burst into tears to have my mother say this to me. I went and cried. My husband came home from work and saw I was upset, and he talked to her, and he knew Scripture too. So he was able to say, you know, the Bible is all about love. It says the greatest of these commandments is love. You know, he tried to tell her, and she was screaming back at him and arguing, you know, with their random scriptures that they don't know where it comes from, but they try to just quote things that they've heard. And he actually had her leave the house. But I told him, we're going to have to be Jehovah's Witnesses because the guilt was still there. And he said, okay, well, let's go ahead and research it. So I thought, here we are on the path of going back to Jehovah. And it was during that time he was able to show me, like when I said, well, the Bible clearly says, you know, the dead are conscious of nothing at all. And he said, well, let's look that up. And we looked it up, and then he said, what does it say around it? And that's when I really grasped that they misapply every scripture. And really the whole point of that was like that those whole verses and that part, and I think it's Ecclesiastes, talks about also wine is everything. Wine makes you merry, and money is everything. So it obviously wasn't stating like a fact of what happens when we die. It was talking about how the earth would be without God, like everything under the sun is vanity and everything above it is different. So I kind of learned how to actually read the Bible and apply the Bible. And it took about 3 or 4 months of researching, reading a lot online, finding the courage to do that, and finding out what we were taught. I didn't even know after, you know, years of being a Jehovah's Witness and preaching and being a pioneer, I didn't even know the things that we taught, like Jesus is just the mediator for the 144,000.
You know, I gotta say, and I don't mean to cut you, but you're covering so much wonderful ground. This is going to be one of the most easiest interviews, I have to say, because these are exactly the type of things that I touch on, and I'm hoping I don't forget all the questions I had in your mind. But I just have to say that what you just said is so powerful. You could be in this organization. You could be an avid reader, you know, just devour all the publications, read the Bible cover to cover. But when you do it from the Watchtower lens, you don't really pick up a lot of the things. Like the whole thing about Jesus not being our mediator. It's just amazing how I never made that connection.
Me either.
As much as I grew up feeling like Jesus is of the utmost importance. I mean, there's nothing without Jesus. I grew up, you know, my knowledge of the Bible to this day, even though I'm struggling in certain areas with my faith, whether I still believe or not, but you know, how Jesus and belief in Jesus and him being the mediator is paramount. You know, I've pioneered too, regular and auxiliary. And it's just amazing when you don't, you know, and I don't mean to ramble, but the Watchtower, they pride themselves on reading the Bible within context. They're always talking about, well, you got to read the Bible in context. Context is everything. Context is king. But when you finally break free and read the Bible exegetically, when you read it within the context, and when you read the publications within the context, it's right there in black and white in their own publications how Jesus is not the mediator between us and God. He's only the mediator between the 144,000. And then they've changed it now that he's basically the mediator between those 7 wicked men in Brooklyn, and that's it. So, it's just amazing to have that freedom and to read the Bible exegetically,
Yes. And I think that was the first thing that I realized I didn't even know about. And then I started researching what do they teach, so then I could prove whether it was true or not. Like, that was the first time that I was doing, like, what they always tell you to do is make the truth your own. Finally, that's what I was going to do. Make the truth
your own.
Yes.
No, I'm just sorry.
Too bad waves do not be prone, right?
Yeah, we're going to lose a lot of callers now.
Yeah, I won't even sing. That would end it real fast. But I remember, so after I did all that research, and it was actually, okay, so I would be doing the research, and then I would read a publication, and I would read it to prove to my own self that it was wrong, yet the words and reading the way that they wrote things, it just like stroked my mind. It was weird. Like, it felt good even though I knew it was lies. And it was a weird feeling, like kind of creepy. And I remember the day that my brain literally switched like a flip, or flipped like a switch, and I was no longer under the mind control spell. I mean, it was literally a moment in time. And after doing, I got chills. And I called my husband. He was at work, and he rushed home because he knew how big that was too. Like, I don't believe it anymore. It's all a lie. It's all tricking, and they're false and all this. So I was very excited and called my mother, which I'm sure you guys can imagine what happened. But I was thinking, oh my gosh, I have to tell her. We were fooled all this time. So
isn't it like the same feeling you get like when you think it's the truth and you learn the truth and you want to let everybody know, and you want to be like the stones that cry out. They just have to lock you in a closet because you're so excited because you have the truth. Now you have the real truth, and it's like, it reminds me of what the Apostle Paul says, which is crazy. I'm talking a lot about Scripture and everything, I guess, because, we're being led that way by the Spirit. Usually I don't talk about Scripture when I interview, but I think about, the whole account where he said that he was like bubbling, like the truth was boiling and bubbling forth, and, that's how you feel. And it's also a scary feeling, right, to find out about all this truth, real truth, right?
Yeah, shocking.
I mean, so it could be traumatic. So how was that for you? I know you touched on it a little bit, but to find out or feel or really make it click that these people are lying to you?
Well, first when I called my mother all excited about it, like, Mom, you're not going to believe this, and I mentioned some things, and she started screaming at me about how I think I know it all, and obviously I didn't come up with this stuff by myself. I was looking at... Did
she say stuff like, where are you getting this from, or... So now you think you know more than the governing body?
Yes, and definitely the word apostate, which still kind of got me in my throat, because I didn't want my daughter thinking I was an apostate. I didn't want that term on me. And then really researching, the word apostate, I think we have to really touch on what the real meaning is. It's just a person that renounces a religion or a political belief. So it's not even a scary term, but yes. But in the religion, we're all taught that equals Satan the devil. I mean, that is equal to that. So she called me all
against the Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah. So I realized okay, this isn't going to be that easy. I'm not going to be able to just show her this and have it be proof. And then, of course, I tried to show my siblings and other people, and they all, just like when you're first a Jehovah's Witness and trying to tell everybody, they all think you're nuts. So I kind of got that reputation for a while and had to learn how to rein it in and take it slow with those kind of things and just appreciate the freedom of my own mind, because for so long I thought I was good as dead. I thought I was not a great person. I didn't know who I was anymore, and it was great to rediscover myself. Like all those really good qualities that I have inside of me, like I love animals, I love people, I love helping people, I'm a good-hearted person. Those are all things I doubted once I left, and then I was able to find out that is who I am, and that really helped my heart heal over time.
I think you express yourself so well. You're kind of voicing my sentiments, because when you're, the good, when some of the good things that they, try to instill in us in the organization, but then they use it to manipulate us at the same time. Everything is centered around being self-sacrificing. That's another trigger word. Remember that word, self-sacrificing? Yes. They always say self-sacrificing, putting the needs of others, this over-hyper emphasis on humility to the point where you have no self-esteem. Everything is you have to be humble. You have to be humble. I remember them telling us, always think you're a good for. Whenever you think you're too much of yourself, always remind yourself that we're good-for-nothing slaves. Any of this ringing a bell? And in a way, a lot of that stuff is good because it builds a certain type of character and a humility and empathy for your fellow human fellow man, and the preaching work, the ministry. They tell us, take a personal interest in us. But then when we leave the organization, it's like, what do we do? Where do we go? What do we do with all this empathy and fellow feeling and taking an interest in people? Did you go through a time where you just weren't so sure about yourself, who you were anymore, or what to do with yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Like the time before I cleared my mind of it and I still believed, I was just what I would say bad. Like, first of all, when you're a witness, everything is a sin, So if you swear, you might as well do drugs. You might as well, get drunk. You might as well be immoral. You might as well.
There's no middle ground, right?
Yes, because you're bad anyway. So, and then the other side of it was I was starting to see, what I was taught is everybody who's not a witness has bad hearts. But I would see people have good hearts. And then I started thinking, everybody's got a good heart. So I was very naive, very, very immature. I was homeschooled when I grew up because we moved around too. So I had no clue about the world. And that led me to a lot of people who weren't good and who did take advantage of me. And it was a really hard time to go through. And it made me feel like I wasn't a good person. I wasn't worthwhile person, all that stuff. So I did go to therapy a few times and got help that I needed, and I definitely recommend that, because what we're fighting in our lives with coming out of this cult is very difficult to go through. And I think getting help for that is just something that will help us along faster. So I would definitely recommend that road for anybody who's struggling.
Oh, definitely. I'd really like to take advantage of this time to talk a little bit about therapy. How was that like, if you don't mind my asking? How did you go about reaching out and finding a therapist? And how was that whole process? And what did you learn from it? How did it help you exactly? Can you just kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, the beginning of it was when I just felt crazy. I felt absolutely crazy, and some of it was postpartum depression. Some of it was leaving my ex-husband, leaving my child, because I knew if I took her with me, she was going to die too. So being taught that all my life, I didn't even try to take her when I was getting a divorce. It was just really, I was running away from everything at that time. So that, of course, doesn't make me feel good as a person either. So I did things that I would never have done if I hadn't believed everything I'd been taught. But the first therapist I went to was just listening to an ad on the radio about, I think it was called Charter or something, if you're Like, basically it sounded like to me, if you're crazy and you need help, come here. And I just drove myself right there. And I thought they were going to lock me up. That's how crazy I felt. Because I felt like every day was like a movie. It wasn't real life. It was very bizarre. Everybody I looked at, I knew we were all going to die. But now I'm not a Jehovah's Witness, and I can't preach to anybody anymore to save us. So it was really a weird spot to be in. And the first therapist I talked to there had me just repeat to myself, this is real life. I'm not as good as dead. My life is worth something. And just that helped me to start viewing things different. And it sounds kind of weird to do, but that really helped me at the beginning. And then it wasn't until after I figured out everything that I'd been taught was a lie. Then I went to a therapist again and was able to work through some of those issues of, my mom shunning me and not being able to reach people and just understanding how the mind works with that. But I think the researching everything on the ex-Jehovah's Witness community sites and stuff, that helped me a whole lot, even more than talking to the therapist at that point, because I really needed to get it out of my own head and find out why it was wrong.
Interesting. So would you say, because we're all learning this as we go. There's different books out there. There's a few therapists out there that are expert as Jehovah's Witnesses, in helping Jehovah's Witnesses and helping people with cults. But I don't think there's really, and maybe when we open it up for audience participation, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not really a set standard or a protocol for deprogramming that's tailored specifically for Jehovah's Witnesses. That's just widely known as the gold standard, just to say, everybody has their own way, everybody goes through their own journey. But how important or what's the word I'm looking for, or vital would you say being online, doing your own research, and like the Facebook groups, and the YouTube videos and all that, how has that helped you, and how do you think it's the absolutely crucial part of recovery and awakening?
I think that is so important, because I believe, from reading other people's experiences too, every single one of us was told it was us and not them. Like, I was told I was too extreme of a Jehovah's Witness. I believed it too much. I took it all too serious and made it hard on myself. I did not. I was just following what they told me to do. I got baptized as a 14-year-old. That was kind of like, well, you wanted to. No, we were told we had to. If we understood enough to understand baptism,
we were manipulated and feared and guilted into doing it.
Yes. So by knowing there's a whole community of people that feel just like us, like, that's one of those signs of a religion that's a cult, is that there's so many people that have the same basic experience coming out of it. And that is what really made me feel not guilty about what happened when I left my husband and left my daughter. It made me see that this is just the path that most of us take to clear our minds. And even the 5-year span that it usually takes to get your mind free, that's pretty common too. It takes about that long,
really,
it seems, for most people to work it out of their own heads. I've just seen that as kind of a trend. And as far as therapists go, we're told as Jehovah's Witnesses we're very special. We have the one true religion. And so we kind of feel very special as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses coming out of that one true religion. But what I found is a good way to look at it is a controlling religion and a cult is a controlling religion and a cult. So a lot of therapists might not have experience with ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, but they do with ex-Mormons or other organizations that have been high control, or even a high control abusive relationship. So they are able to help. I think we have to put more trust in people's ability to understand us and help us, because we are just human, and humans react certain ways in certain situations. So I would encourage anybody to not be so scared of feeling like they need to find the right one, and just starting somewhere. And if they help you, then that's a good therapist for you.
Wow, just such great stuff you're covering. So the whole 5-year thing, you know, it's interesting that you say it takes about 5 years. I've never heard that before, but it does make a lot of sense. Just to share a little bit about me, I would say, thinking back on it now, I mean, I really started really awakening about 2 years before, like really starting to just be brave enough to do all the research online and stuff. About 2 years before I finally broke away last July. And it was a couple years before that I was having an internal struggle. So now that I look back on it, and, you know, I would just say it's only been just recently, even after I physically left, you know, it's about 5 years. I would have to agree with that, to where you're totally convinced. And you know something crazy about me, Lyndi?
What?
You know, you think that you have it all worked out. You think that you're okay. You think that you've moved on. And you have. We all have. But it's just so funny how when you learn different things, how those, for me, I'll just speak for me, and maybe you could just kind of say what you feel about that, how light bulbs still keep popping. And I'm like, oh, my God, I can't believe that I just learned this, and this is not true. Like, for instance, this year, all you have to do for the memorial celebration is type into Google Nice 14, 2016, and it'll come up as April 22nd. And the Watchtower says they do it by the Jewish tradition, you know, of Passover, when the new moon happens, and the equinox, and all that kind of stuff. So they're not following the Jewish tradition anymore, you know. Right. And it's just like, oh my God, they're not even following this. This can't be the truth. Well, I've already come to that conclusion that this is not the truth, but I still got like that epiphany moment. Again, it keeps happening every time you see the stuff that they're doing. Or like when they showed Samuel Hurd and I think what's the Heaven's Gate guy, the guy that contorts his face a lot.
I know who you're talking. I can picture him.
Stephen Led, I think his name is. You know, when they showed them with their Rolex, with their Apple watches and their Rolex watches that cost, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm like, oh my goodness, you know. And it shouldn't be surprising, but it's still surprising. And I feel like I'm still awakening and still convincing myself and still reassuring myself that I don't have to feel guilty. You know, I don't have to feel guilty anymore because this is not the truth. Do you go through that? How do you feel about that? Am I making any sense?
Yes, you're making total sense, and I still feel the same way. I still have those epiphanies. Like, I was watching one of the videos from the memorial where Christian Freedom went and videotaped himself partaking this year.
Right.
And I would say in the past, watching those videos, I'm like, oh, you know, that's kind of uncomfortable. Like, maybe that's not really the way to, you know, reach people. But it hit me this time. He's taking it back, first of all. He was denied, you know, partaking for all his life, and now he's taking it back. But he also quoted a scripture in John 56, and it talked, or John 6:56, where Jesus was commanding people for everlasting life to drink the wine, which referred to his blood. And people were like, what do you mean? This is gross. What do you mean, drink your blood? And he was explaining to this huge group of people, of Jews, to do this, not to his disciples. And you know what? I had never even seen that before. So I am learning constantly. And I'm also clearing out the things like we talked about The Walking Dead for a second. Like, we would have never been able to watch that as witnesses. And
right.
In my mind, sometimes I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to watch this, what will I be watching next year? You know, like actual people eating people. And then I'm like, wait a minute.
You know what? I'm cutting you again. But do you ever find that, you know, like I have this internal struggle with things, you know, like I was at the movies yesterday. I was seeing the new Batman Superman movie. Oh, by the way, have you seen that movie yet?
Not yet, nope.
They talk about Jehovah in that movie.
Oh, wow.
That has nothing to do with anything, price of tea in China, but I just thought that was so interesting. It triggered me.
That is interesting.
But during the trailers for the, you know, coming attractions, some movie, I don't know what it's called, The Conjuring or whatever. It was some kind of poltergeist movie that came up, you know. And, you know, I'm going to just tell you where I'm at. Sometimes I'm a believer right now. Sometimes I'm not a believer. You know, I don't know what to believe now. You know, like I'm taking biblical Hebrew classes at the University of Israel online, and I want to learn what the Bible says, whether I believe it metaphorically or literally. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. But anyways, the point is, you know, like today I totally feel like a Christian, and I thank you for that. You know, I feel like a believer today talking to you. You're helping me in that perspective. But this is the point I'm trying to make. This trailer came on, and you mentioned The Walking Dead, and sometimes even stuff that's not. And this trailer that came on was like a poltergeist type movie, you know. And I'm like, I'm looking at it like, okay, as a witness. If I was a witness, I would be like totally scared and horrified. Like, there's no way I'm going to see this demonic movie, you know. And there'll be times as a witness I would have looked at that and I'm like, well, I know I have Jehovah, and that could be superstitious, even though we don't know what superstition. Just repeat Jehovah's name and the demons scatter away. We use Jehovah's name as an amulet, you know. But I'm like, I don't have to be afraid of this, you know. But for the most part, it would give me, you know, the heebie-jeebies, you know. I saw the trailer now, and I'm like, I don't have the desire to watch something like this, but I'm like, I would totally watch something like this and not even care anymore and not feel, you know, the guilt and stuff. But, you know, that I had that feeling, but then I'm thinking, and this is the point of what you were saying, is like, you said, well, what do I be doing next year? I have this saying that keeps going on in my mind. It's like, how much deeper in degradation am I going to get into? Okay, I know I'm not a witness anymore, you know, but I you know, I like, wow, you know, like I never thought I'd watch Harry Potter, you know, you know, and it's like, you know, because you're gonna die in Armageddon for watching a movie. So it's just like I find myself, and I guess you know, even when you think they're totally out of your head, they're still in your head. They're still there, like not nonchalant everyday things that it's not something that you're gonna, you know, the God is gonna totally condemn you for. You know, you just feel like, oh, my goodness. Yes. So am I making any sense with that? I'm going to let you go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, it's so important to realize these are things that are personal choices based on your personality. Like when I was a kid, I was scared to death of The Wizard of Oz. The witch scared me and everything. So when my youngest daughter wanted to watch it, I was like, she's going to be scared. Didn't scare her one bit. She was like, that's so fake. That's a fake witch. She likes scary stuff. She likes watching stuff. She's only 10, so it's like mildly scary. But it's up to personal choice. Like I don't like those kind of creepy movies still. They really scare me. And then if I hear a noise, I know there's nothing, but I'm scared. So I don't have to watch them because I don't want to watch them. But if my husband or daughter is not scared and they think it's funny, or you know, they enjoy enjoy being scared, they can
or take it for what it is, as just a fantasy and it's not real.
Choices. Yes. And I would like to tell you, as far as my journey, you know, as far as spiritual journey, like I feel so pleased that you said I'm making you feel like a Christian today, because that's the kind of things that I think we as ex-witnesses can exude, that kind of personality that comes off as what we were told was Christian. But I mean, I'm still a work in progress too. I believe that not a single one of us human beings on earth has any kind of special insight that nobody else can have, and none of us
Amen. None
of us know what happens when we die. None of us know exactly what the Bible means. None of us know anything. But when you can look
none of
at
us have been resurrected, and none of us have no kind of special channel. You know, anytime somebody, once you start saying, you know, we're channeling like the governing body says, then, you know, you might be channeling, but, you know, you'd be surprised what you might be channeling, you know?
Yes, I mean, none of us have any special insight. So whatever we figure with our own spirituality, whether it comes from nature or if it comes from just someplace in our heart, whatever makes us happy, I do believe that spirituality. And if you call it Christianity, or like with Buddhists, that's a very peaceful kind of feeling with the earth. I don't judge anybody for whatever beliefs they have. But looking at the Bible realistically, you know, the whole thing about just being around for 6,000, 7,000 years, that doesn't even make sense with the, you know, the cavemen.
That's totally hogwash now.
Yeah. So we can all be on our own journey with that. I really believe that that's the important part, and we don't have to figure everything out. That's what I teach my youngest daughter, who is never a Jehovah's Witness. I teach her, if you ever meet somebody or a group of people that tell you they have some special answers that you can't find yourself, run. That's a bad sign. But we as humans always want that. We want somebody to tell us what happens when we die and what this life's purpose is. But it's not something anybody has. That's what we have to realize. And we have to be okay with not having every single answer. I think it's very important for us as ex-witnesses to realize that. It's okay. We don't have to have it figured out.
You know, that's something, I'm glad you mentioned that. You just called something to mind when I was, I've given up and we're going our separate ways, and that's a whole other story. I'm where you were with, you divorced your husband. I don't see any other way of salvaging my marriage, and we're separating, and it'll probably eventually end up in divorce. But my wife, she knows there's things that don't add up. I've been able to show her that scripturally. I've been able to show her that with facts. And they have this manipulation they put in your mind. Well, where else are you gonna go? And who else? And they misapply the scripture where where it says each person will grab onto the skirt of a Jew, or when Jesus said, are you going to leave me too? And then they says, well, where else we're going to go? You have sayings about everlasting life. So they put themselves in that same place of the Christ and say, well, where else are you going to go? Who else is going to teach you the truth? Who taught you all these morals all this time? So why would you trust anybody else? That type of thing. And I said, I used to tell my wife, I said, look, especially when I was, I didn't have as much knowledge and I wasn't as skilled, and I'm still learning, now at debunking Watchtower. But I'm like, look, I might not know all the answers. I don't know where to go. I don't know what the answer is. But I could dang sure tell you, excuse my French, when somebody's lying to me, I could very well easily prove that we're all being lied to. And you only have one chance. You only have to lie to me once. When you say you're the truth, and I don't care how little it is. The fact that they just plagiarize and misquote people in their literature, that's a lie. How important, how serious by their own teachings is lying? What does Revelation say about the liars and the idolaters and the liars? It puts them in the same boat, that they'll be in the everlasting lake of fire. So I might not know the answers, but I could damn sure tell you when I'm being lied to. And I could prove that I'm being lied to, and you're being lied to. And the fact that we're being lied to is just such an important thing about waking up,
Yes.
And I said, so I don't have all the answers, but I know that I'm being lied to, so that's enough for me to know that this is not the truth.
One quote I saw that really struck me is, I would rather have questions that have no answers than answers that cannot be questioned. And that is Jehovah's Witnesses to a T, right?
Because they keep telling us to question, But then once you start doing that, it's a problem, apostate.
I know.
The biggest part. Liars.
We have someone that wants to speak up, and I know a lot of people want to speak up. We're gonna open up the lines for comments and questions in just a moment. One quick thing I want to do, I want you to just share with us really what's happening with your daughter. Before we run out of time, so how's that whole dynamic? What's the status? What happened? And what's going on now? And how we're going to go forward from there? Well,
for the years since I became free in my own mind, I would try to plant little subtle seeds in her head, with if you found out when you're older that everybody around you called the sky green, and then you found out the rest of the world called it blue, would you want to know, or would you just want to keep thinking it was green? And she'd say, I want to know. So little things like that, or I had her help my younger daughter on a school project where I had them research a website on a product that, something on TV that looked fabulous, it was great, everybody loves it, and then go research some negative reviews, and then you get a balanced view. So trying to teach her critical thinking. Well, you can only do so much without them having their cult personality come up and ignoring you. So last summer, knowing that her 18th birthday was coming up, I tried to return to get reinstated so that I could just have her not have to go through this, which I didn't know.
Not because you believed or had any second thoughts, just for the sake of having a relationship with your daughter.
Exactly. I had.
And that's just such a temptation I've had at times, too, and a thought. So, wow.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
It is, because you think that might solve everything. But, it's no guarantee that that's going to work, first of all. And ultimately, I do want my daughter free, not to think that everything's good because everybody's in it that she cares about, So I was torn between doing it, but I felt like as a mom I had to try. And it was very difficult, sitting in there listening to things that you knew is just total crap.
Oh, man, to go back and listen to all that crazy talk.
Yes, it was very difficult. I'm being shunned. And then the elders, I hadn't been treated like anything less than the woman I am for so many years, that being treated like a stupid child or something by these elders was just unreal to me. I could not even believe it. And I was trying to be, trying to keep up the image of being, believing them. And it was just ridiculous. So I lasted a couple months doing that. But the good thing that came out of that is I was able to talk to my daughter about things she wouldn't have talked to me before. Like I mentioned to her, before I go back, I do want to research a few things, and one was why they joined the United Nations. And she said, oh, that must be a lie. That's an apostate lie. And I said, well, let's call your dad and ask him. So I asked him. He's an elder. I asked him, what about the United Nations? He's like, oh, yeah. They joined it, but then, they thought, well, this might not be a great idea. So they withdrew their membership once they
rationalizing everything.
Yes, but my daughter was like, I know she was shocked that wasn't an apostate lie. And then the Royal Commission was going on, so my husband now was able to, we planned this out where he said, I saw you guys, he joined us together, you guys in the news, Jehovah's Witnesses. So I said, oh, really? What? And he's like, I don't know, something in Australia. So I was able to read an article and give it to her to read. So a couple things like that happened. Well, speed up to now, this about 3 weeks ago, actually. She called me, and I had been planning, she's not 18 for 2 more months, so I'd been planning one last trip for us where I could really, really tell her some things. I knew it would be the last time, but she called me 3 weeks ago and she was crying, and she said, Mom, I'm about 18, and we live in different states, so I don't, get to see her all the time. She said, I'm almost 18, and I have to make this choice. I have to show Jehovah that I love him, and I love you too, but I can't talk to you anymore or have a relationship. And I tried to just say, well, you're not 18 yet. We're going to see each other one more time. And she's like, no, this is my choice. We're not. And she's like, you stressed me out last time I saw you because you were talking bad about the governing body, and I can't have doubts, Mom. And that really got me because I thought, well, that's good. She's had doubts. So that was one good thing. But
there's a conflict there. She's talking. That's the cult talking, but there's a conflict there because that's I've had that same conversation with myself. So there's hope.
Good. Well,
hello?
And that was the last time I talked to her, and she's told me not to text her anymore. I mean, this is heart, gut-wrenching sadness that you go through.
Hello?
Losing.
Hi?
Yes, hold on, sister. We're about to open it up. Go ahead. Keep talking, Lyndi.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It's okay. just really, really huge effect on life, having your daughter alive but dead to you. So I've been going to counseling again, therapy, because this is something I'm not equipped to handle on my own. My husband is just shocked that it happened. Everybody around me that I said this might happen are shocked that it really did. But I find a lot of support in friends that, they've never been witnesses. They didn't think this would happen. But you have to give people a lot of credit to understand situations and be compassionate and caring, more compassion and caring than I ever saw as a Jehovah's Witness. And I also started off a group on Facebook called, it's a support group for parents who lost children to shunning.
Oh my goodness, that's so smart and that's so necessary. I definitely wanna promote that. What's the name of the Facebook page again?
I'll have to look up the exact name. Support group for parents who lost children to shunning. And
okay, great.
Yeah. And the first day, because I posted this whole story on the Ex-Jehovah's Witness recovery group, and the next day posting this group that I started, we had 25 members because I saw there was a need. A lot of people are suffering in silence, and this has helped my heart, and there's some good things that have already happened with people, and a lot of us feel hopeless that our kids will ever come back, but keeping hope alive is important, and some who've gone through it and gotten their kids back, so we're all there to support each other, and even on just any Ex-Jehovah's Witness group will be so loving and supportive because we've all lost people. You know, that heartache is there for everybody, I think.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, I just want to take a quick pause. Now, I'm going to open it up in just a moment for comments because I know there's people chomping at the bits really want to talk to you and ask you some questions. I see that our next show, the host looks like had to cancel, Rick, but I'd love to keep going. I could keep going for that extra hour if you like, Rick.
Well, by all means, Josh, go ahead and do it.
Okay, so I'll just try to keep things going here. Now we want to open it up for comments and encouragement. My goodness gracious, like Rick always says, this is just such a great interview, and she's doing such a great job. Let's give Lyndi some support here. So if you're on the 6 screens and we'd like to speak up, press *1 to unmute yourself if you're not already unmuted. If you're on Cult Free Network, you could just go ahead and speak up. But if anybody has any support or anything they want to ask Lyndi, now's the time. Go ahead.
Hello,
Josh.
This is Trudy. Oh.
Okay, so I have Trudy, and I think Gus is on there. Gus, I think, was trying to speak from before. So how about we let Gus speak up first, and then Trudy will go next. Go ahead, Gus.
Okay, that's fine. Good.
This is actually Rick. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought it was Gus. Go ahead.
No, I just want to make sure, Josh, that you put that her link, I guess, push it out on your Facebook, I guess, the support.
I will.
Okay, yeah, please do that.
I'll give you the real name, too. I looked it up, and I worded it a little wrong, so I'll give you the real name when you...
Okay, and you know what I'll do, Lyndi? Maybe we could talk offline. I'd like to collaborate with you on that, and
okay.
I don't know if you could temporarily make me an admin to help you out. I'm pretty good at promoting the groups on all my sites, and then we'll get more people on there. Okay, but Rick, thank you for saying that. Do you have anything else you wanted to say to Lyndi?
Yeah, just one other comment, Lyndi, and you guys know this already. The one biggest setback that Jehovah's Witnesses have is education. And I preach that so much to the people that I meet. I work for a local police department, and I talk to kids, and I don't talk to them regarding cults, but just life in general, drugs, making good choices. But education is their biggest threat. So just keep preaching that. Educate yourself no matter what it is, whether it's buying a new TV, drugs, or religion.
Good point. Just getting used to researching.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Very true. Okay, Trudy, so you had something you wanted to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Yeah, Lyndi, I was going to tell you that when your daughter said, I can't talk to you anymore if you keep talking this way. Well, don't give up. I said the very same thing to my sister, my twin sister, Sheila. And she was over trying to get me to understand why she left and was talking negatively against the governing body. And we had neighbors who are Jehovah's Witnesses, and I told her, don't talk that way over here because, I'll get in trouble. And if you keep talking that way, like I said, I won't be able to talk to you. Well, the thing, she didn't give up. She kept talking to me, and she kept telling me and advising me there's more that you don't understand and you need to know. Keep studying your Bible. Do it on your own. Do your own private Bible study. And keep, like the scriptures say, keep seeking, keep knocking, and keep asking. And so that's what I would suggest if you can. Even if you can send her letters or even a postcard with those scriptures on it. She won't probably open the letter maybe, but she will look at the card, you know. So anyway, that's what I suggest to you.
Thank you for the encouragement. Like, I'll never give up hope, and I know it's so fresh and new that I know pushing her at this time, you know, when they're almost 18 and they think they know everything, it's not the best time to do it, but I will always reach out periodically, you know, to her. I won't be able to not do that as her mom, you know, but thank you for letting me know that that worked for you.
Yes.
It reminds me of the strongly entrenched things. We got to use that same work ethic. We're trying to wake people up as what we used to use when people were indoctrinated into what we felt was their false religion. So let me see if I could just mute some of the background noise here. Okay. So anybody else out there that would like to give Lyndi some encouragement, please speak up now. Go ahead.
Hi, Lyndi. Hi, it's Rochelle from Milwaukee.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm just you know, giving you my support. I stopped going to the Kingdom Hall when I was 27, and I'm 35. I'm 33 now, and I feel so good not going. Like, I just need to move from the city. That's the only thing I need to do to really get this religion out of my system. But I never got baptized. I was a publisher, so I never got baptized. So, you know, I mean, I really could have left a long time ago, but, you know, I never got married to anybody at the hall. I never had any kids with anybody at the hall. So I really could have left, but it's that mind control that keeps you there. I stopped going out in field service in 2003. I stopped going. I never pioneered. I used to go out in field service when I was underage, which that's something I'm questioning. I'm just like, I don't think I should have been doing that. I think I got used. I think I was used for religious propaganda.
Yes.
I think it's definitely a human rights issue. I think so. So,
I agree.
so, and then too, me being like a female, I just didn't understand, like, the more I think about it, why do I have to be there? It seems like it's more about the men. You know, they're the ones that could really, you know, they could really advance in the organization. Women really can't. I mean, women are just basically there to support the men, the sisters. Are there to support the men. I just don't understand it. I never have understood it. But you know, people, of course, they would say I'm wrong for saying that. They're like, "Oh, you're wrong." You know, I've never
not
understood
normal
it.
people. Normal people think you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, I have a sibling staying with me right now that still believes in Jehovah, and he says that doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, you can still. I'm like, no, yes, it does matter, because it's like women can't really do anything at the Kingdom Hall, and a lot of the sisters keep up a lot of drama there too. They don't have anything to do, so they just keep up drama.
And how old is your sibling?
My sibling, he is 32. Well, 31. Oh, 32. I was turning 33. He's 31. He'll be 32.
Okay. I have noticed it seems like about that age, like our 30s, we start getting more like knowing ourselves as people and not just wrapped up in the day-to-day life of like what Jehovah's Witnesses want us to be wrapped up in. And I feel like that's a great time to kind of have our minds open up, because we start just being more confident in ourselves as humans. So that's like my hope for my daughter to come out of it is probably sometime when she's around that age, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting a little bit of noise in the background. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself. Either mute yourself on the phone or press *1 to mute yourself in the background. We would appreciate that.
Yeah.
But thank you, Michelle, for that. I mean, it's always, you know what I've noticed? It's always something different for each person that really starts to wake up their own mind. And we don't know what it's going to be for anybody, but sharing our own experiences is so important, because we're helping so many other people that we don't know what their thing will be. So anything that we can say or do to help people is so important.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Rick. I'm checking the board on my end on Call Free Network, and the feedback's not coming from any of my callers, so I don't know if you could check on your end. There's some background noise coming in.
I left open today.
Yeah, well, we're working on it now.
Oh.
It doesn't seem to be on our end here, but hold on one second. Let me see what we can do here. Josh,
Yeah.
what number are you calling under?
I'm calling on I'm 914.
Yeah, I got a bunch of 914s. What, 914 what?
562-8735.
All right, good. I think I got the one here. Okay. All right. We got a lot of New York callers coming in right now, so. All right.
Oh, okay.
Just give it a second. Okay. I think that
All
might
right.
be.
All right, Lyndi, you still with us? Lyndi, you still with us? I think we might have lost Lyndi temporarily, but wow, what a great job she's done so far. So now, Rick, I was looking in the video suite. It looked like Denise has volunteered to kind of step up to the plate.
She'll be coming in at 5.
Okay. Oh, at 5 o'clock. Okay, very good. So we'll give Lyndi a chance to call back in. I don't know if you're still there, Lyndi. You there, Lyndi? Okay, so she's probably going to try to dial back in. But if anybody else wants to make a comment, go ahead.
Josh, was she coming in through the 6 screens, or was she coming in through the Cult Network?
She was coming. She came in. I'm not sure. I think she came in through Cult Free Network.
Okay.
Okay. But wow, she really good. I definitely almost feel like she was really resonating with me. A lot of the things she was saying, she was like speaking my language, we're told in the organization that we have the pure language. I think in the XJW community, there's a pure language, there's a realness, a common bond we have, that we have the same things that we share, the same type of experience, the same thought process that comes in. I just heard a ding. I think she came back in. Is that you, Lyndi?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear. Okay. I'm so glad that you're here with us.
I heard you before. I don't know what happened.
Okay. But, yeah, I was just saying that you made me think about in the organization, remember they were always telling us that we had the pure language, the truth, and we had this international brotherhood. I believe wholeheartedly that carries over into the XJW community, where we have support groups like this or platforms where we could just talk and discuss together. We have that pure language, that realness, that truthfulness, that, you have me to realize that it's almost kind of emotional just thinking about it, that, it's comforting. I'm not the only one that's having these thoughts, this struggle, whether it's the guilt, whether it's the fear, whether it's the worrying about Armageddon, whether it's the contemplating, I still contemplating sometimes going through the motions and going back even though I don't believe it, just to get my family back, or, all the things you mentioned, it's like we're not alone. We understand one another. We could almost, I almost feel like we could finish each other's sentences. Do you agree?
I agree. And what's funny, if you think, back 10, 15 years before there was all this, if you got disfellowshipped and your friend got disfellowshipped, you were still not supposed to talk to each other, because we as a collaboration are the Watchtower's worst enemies. We're here to support each other and to encourage each other to speak out. They would rather us just be, holed up in a hole somewhere depressed, even if we don't go back, to feel like we're all alone. So
they want us in that constant state of just burying our head in the sand and just self-hate. I mean, I'm being shunned right now, and if anybody's listening, I would like to hear your thoughts about this too. I'm being shunned right now by disfellowship people.
Yes.
In other words, the Watchtower doesn't even want you. I have some relatives, some that have been disfellowshipped for years, and I was so happy. Like, look, I dissociated myself, and I reached out to them. And they don't want no part of it. They still support the organization, and they're disfellowship, and they've been thrown away by the organization. Isn't that crazy?
I know,
Have you experienced that?
I did before when a friend got disfellowshipped and I called her all excited, but she was planning on going back, so she didn't want to talk to me because then, it might stop her from going back. So, yeah, this is something that we're going to take them down with eventually, just having each other to support each other. It makes you not have to go back because you're not missing that whole brotherhood that we supposedly have. We have like a real connection with people now that we can really help people with, and we don't judge each other like what Michelle was saying, how catty all the witnesses are.
Right. And you know about speaking of brotherhood and support for one another, I don't know if you saw, but we have a cruise, a 2017 vacation cruise for XJWs that I started up, and that's all I did is I came up with the idea and I started it up, but I have some amazing administrators that really took it over and got a travel agent and everything, and we're getting close to 500 members in that Facebook group, and people are booking cabins. So everybody listen up. Please look for that group on Facebook, XJW Vacation Cruise 2017. We're all going to be on the Carnival Sensation. It's going to be a vacation cruise. We're going to do it annually. We're going to be there to support one another, and it's going to be very affordable. So did you hear about that cruise, Lyndi?
I did, and I asked about bringing my child, and you did respond that it's family-friendly, so that's
Definitely.
Good to know. Yes.
Yes, because we want to. When you leave something, it's like going on a diet or just any kind of drastic change. You can't just. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, hold on a second.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have to replace it with something. Garbage comes out, you got to replace it with good stuff coming in, And so I'm working tirelessly. Rick Theron's working tirelessly. All the Facebook groups have activists and people that are working tirelessly to. We're not trying to make another cult or another religion. Everybody's free. I mean, there's going to be people that are many different persuasions and belief systems on that cruise, but we all have that one common bond that we were affected by the cult, and we could be a support to each other, So that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. And I wanted to mention one more thing. When I was talking to my therapist, this was an ex-Jehovah's Witness therapist. I had just a few sessions with him because it was, not in my state. I had to do it on FaceTime. But I kind of went back and forth whether I should even get my daughter out of the religion because all her family are Jehovah's Witnesses. She would be like in my place with the pain of shunning. And he said, cults are abusive. We were all abused in these cults. Like if you think of going back just for your family, you're going back to abuse. So getting people out is saving them from the abuse. He said if she was being physically abused or abused in any other way, you wouldn't even think twice about it. So we all have to remember that part of the cult. It's an abusive type of thing that we've all survived. So being survivors and getting together and helping each other, that's what we all have in common, and that's a great bond for each other through.
Yeah, abuse is abuse, right? It doesn't matter if it's sexual, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. I mean, there's different degrees and intensity of it, but it's all abuse, and no abuse should be tolerated, right?
Exactly.
So we should, not to sound like the society, but do our utmost, to try to help people, to get away from it. Because even if they're shunned and you help them, they still have a shot at having a productive, fulfilling life, especially now that there's all these support groups out there. Now, you said you spoke to a therapist. You said that this therapist was a JW?
Yes. Steve.
Which therapist was this? You don't mind me asking, because many that are listening might be able to benefit from that.
Yes. I'm going to look up his name so I get it right. His first name's Steve, and his last name starts with a G.
So Steve Gusick.
Yes, Gusick. Yes.
Okay, so we're familiar with him here. He has a program on the 6 Screens, right?
I saw it when I was researching, trying to find him. I knew I'd seen on the board some therapists that were ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and I contacted him for help to know what to say to my daughter, like on our last visit. And of course that fell through with her phone call, but he really helped me a lot in just understanding, like I didn't have to explain the whole background to him to get the help of what to say to my daughter, you know? So
right.
Yes, he was very helpful, and just taking away the guilt of trying to help people out of it. Like some people say, just leave them alone. You know, they have the choice. Even my family, who doesn't quite understand, they're not witnesses, but they're kind of on the fringe. They're like,
right.
you know,
to each his own, you know, blah blah blah.
Yes. But the reason why it's so important to help people is because it is an abusive situation. It's not just a normal religion with everybody making their own choices. So he helped me to not have the guilt of trying to get her out. And even with the price that we pay, it seems like all of us who are free are so much happier. I mean, the whole thing that nobody will be happy if they leave Jehovah, that is a complete lie. We all have struggles from the cult and how it still affects us, but we are happy, and it is a good feeling to be out of it.
Freedom rocks. True indeed.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting you say that, and that was a good manipulation tool they used to use, because leaving a cult is a very traumatic experience. So when you leave the cult, you're going to go through anger, you're going to go through, well, first you're going to go through fear and hurt and depression and suicidal tendencies, all that. And then there's anger and all that kind of stuff. But then after you go through that, then there's relief, there's joy, there's freedom, there's laughter, there's happiness, there's all that, those other things too. Before the groups and before the internet, we would just see that initial shock. So I used to always, they used to have me, you know, I used to always think, you know, even though I could never fully shun people, I used to be like, you know, I never met a happy XJW. They always seem so depressed, and you know, they get into drugs, they get into prostitution, they get, you know, you would always see these horror stories. But what happens is, now I realize a lot of these people eventually recover, they get therapy, or even if they don't get therapy, they just move on with their lives and they become celebrities, they become, you know, millionaires. You know, there's all kind of documented examples, you know, of people that have become very successful out of the organization. I really used to think for years, even as a grown-up, how naive I was, that there wasn't no such thing as a happy XJW. Like, you know, for instance, I used to always say, or think, you know, it was amazing. It's amazing. I find it amazing that people still are addicted to drugs in this day and age, with all the evidence there is that how harmful drugs are. So I used to be like, you know, just like you never see a successful crackhead, you know, you'll never see a successful XJW. I used to believe that. Now that I'm out, I'm meeting all these awesome people like yourself. Like, you got me so charged up and hyped up right now. You sound like even though you're going through a rough patch, you know, with your daughter right now trying to shun you, and I stress the word trying because I see it sounds like she's struggling with it. You sound like you're ready to just take the world by the horns and just, you know, blast off and fly, spread your wings and just, you know, just have a very, very successful, productive time. I mean, that's the vibe I feel from it.
Yeah, the feeling that I always knew in my heart was the only upside to losing my daughter in this way is that I will not have that chain that's been holding me down and keeping me silent and keeping me under a, you know, pseudonym and everything like that. And I do have a huge desire to help people and, you know, just help them heal from this whole experience. And now I feel like I can finally put that desire of mine to good use. And I am very, very, very thankful to be able to come and talk with you. And, you know, I reached out to you and asked, you know, if you'd like to interview me.
I was so happy when you did. You seemed so enthusiastic to do it. And I hope you're not a stranger to the Six Screens or to this network, and you continue to lend your support and your energy, and you continue on the groups. Is there anybody else out there that want to say hello? Please do now. Go ahead. If you're on the Six Screens and you would like to say hi to Lyndi, we're kind of going a little bit overtime today because the Brennan Joseph's show is not on. Now's the time to talk. Press star one.
I'll tell you, Josh, I want to speak up here. I'm doing some work here in the Six Screens Control Center, and I hear Lyndi, and she's doing a fantastic job. Now, she sounds like she might have a New England accent. Can you say where you're from?
That's pretty funny. I did live in Gilbertville, Massachusetts for a while, but we moved around all over the U.S. when I was a kid growing up, so I'm kind of got a little bit of everything. But Ohio, I would say, is like where I was born. So a little of everything.
Yeah, my goodness. Yeah, you do. You must have kept a little bit of accent. You probably picked that up, Lyndi, but you did a fine job. We're so glad, too, that you're coming out, and we're glad you talked to Steve Gusick. Boy, he's a really good guy. You know, he started by listening in years ago. 10 years ago, he was listening to the Six Screens conference calls, and it got him really thinking that he'd like to go to school and become a professional therapist, and that's how he got his start. And he comes on every other Saturday night here live. He would generally be on tonight, but he's getting baptized as a Christian tonight.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah, he's getting baptized, I believe. Don't hold me to it. He put it on Facebook so the public knows about it. I'm not telling him anything I shouldn't. But he's I think it's an Episcopalian church, and boy, he's doing really good. And he comes on every other Saturday night, and he is getting big crowds of people coming in. It's great.
That is great. I feel kind of the same, like inspired by him, that I feel like that's my calling if I ever, have the time when my younger daughter grows up to kind of go into some type of, be a therapist role for people getting out too.
Oh, that way, Lyndi, I tell you, that would be a perfect job for you because, you have a nice attitude. You don't talk down to the people. You stay at their level. You'd be an excellent therapist. You really would. I'll give you a gold star for that.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, I feel like I got a nice therapy session today. I think she was interviewing me instead of me interviewing her.
Well, that's what I thought. In fact, maybe I'll interview you in the next program, Josh.
Yeah. Well, Lyndi, I think.
On the couch.
Hey, Lyndi, you'd be a great person to have your own show one day, I think. What do you think, Rick?
Well, that you would. No, what it is, I'll tell you. In fact, when she first came on, I really thought she was coming in from New England. I really did. I was listening here, and I can't listen to all of the programs coming through. I usually get a chance to listen to Josh's. I always like Josh. He brings some really fantastic people on. So it's really neat that when you came in, I said, boy, she sounds like a New Englander. And it's you get a nice kind of like a country way about you. And I like that. That's a good, wholesome way. And don't you ever change, Lyndi.
Well, thank you. I want to reach out to the ex-Jehovah's Witness community and the Jehovah's Witnesses with a loving heart and an open heart and not come off like what they expect of bitter and angry. We're just here because we do love them and we do care about them. And that's how we want to come off, that we're here to help them wake up too.
Well,
I'm sorry, Rick. I just wanted to say this is going to be uploaded, on my SoundCloud page and on YouTube. I'm not sure if Rick uploads my show as well, the archives. But really important, this is going to be broadcast, and people are going to hear, not to sound churchy, but they're going to hear your testimony. They're going to hear your experience. And, I'm glad you mentioned Steve Gusick. Steve Gusick, as Rick was saying, he's a product of activism. When he first started listening, he wasn't a therapist. He was just a caller coming out of the cult. Now he's a therapist. Who knows where you're going to wind up being? You say that you have that as a goal. Who knows where I'll wind up being? I called in. I was just a lost sheep myself, scared, afraid, angry, and I found the Six Screens. So the reason I'm saying this is because it's just to show you people, because Six Screens, even what I do, we get a bad rap of being, we're just tabloid. We're just out to, sensationalize. We get into some fiery discussions and debates sometimes, but this is what we're all about. We're about helping people. Now because of the Six Screens, you have an actual certified licensed therapist. He's trying to be a psychiatrist as well. He's continuing on. And there's other people that are doing the same thing. So, hopefully we'll get the word out that this is something that's very positive that we're trying to do here.
Yes, and every form of activism is helping. Like, some people respond better to a different avenue, but we want to have all those avenues out there for whatever people respond to. So I don't think anybody should criticize any other avenue of activism. I think that it's all important, obviously, because we've all been affected by different ones, you know?
Definitely. I don't know what I would do if it wasn't for all the groups, if it wasn't for the Six Screens, if it wasn't for this show. I've been going at it, about 8 months now. And, I still have my days, and I still have my, manic moments. But I was a real mess. I don't, when I first started. I don't know if Rick remembers those days when I first started calling in, how I was, how bad I really was. So.
Mhm. And we all.
Well, you were bad. In fact, Josh, you were bad. You were very. In fact, seriously, so we got to roll the clocks back. I think you started coming in around July of just last year.
Yeah.
And when you first came in, you were really having some difficulty. I mean, you were afraid to even speak up. Seriously. And now look at you, got your own radio program now. You started your own side network here. You're moving forward. And activism, I like what Lyndi just said. I'm going to just comment on that for a second. We all have our own ways of doing things. And that's a good thing. And, some people, our group here, we protest. We get out and we protest. We just protested at the memorial last Wednesday night. And we had a good show of people there protesting. We had a New York film crew come up, and we put it all up on YouTube and get a lot of comments on it. And this film crew is making a documentary. He's going to evidently use this protest. He was looking for some protesters to put in a documentary film that he's making all about the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, this man never was even a witness. His wife was a Jehovah's Witness. And, he had a lot of problems in that situation. She was trying to raise the kids. He never became a witness, but they made life really miserable on him. So he's a talented, creative filmmaker. So he's starting to do a film, all about a full-length film, on a documentary all about what goes on behind the world of the witnesses. So he just came back from Poland, and he was over there at the concentration camps in Germany. And he's talking about the real story of the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Holocaust, because they don't tell you the real story. So this documentary is great. He's coming on. In fact, he's coming on tonight. He's a Russian guy. He speaks with a real Russian accent. He's coming on tonight to talk about the film. But a lot of people, when they see the protesting like that, they really don't like it. They think it's like in your face, and it's not for everybody. I don't say everybody's going to go out and protest, but everybody can do their own thing. They can write on the internet. They can, they can walk around with the stickers on their backpacks. They can talk up wherever they go about the Jehovah's Witnesses being a cult. We all working together, a team. We can all get the world to see what's going on in this terrible cult.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
This is Steve, so I just want to thank everybody. But you guys are the real activists that help promote this. I just dialed in before church today, so everybody doing this is what helps everybody else. That's amazing that you guys are all out there doing it. So good job to you.
Congratulations, Steve.
That's Steve.
Yeah.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah,
you were a great help to me, and I will never forget that, and I appreciate it so much, just the personal one-on-one help that you got me through it, and now I feel like I can be strong and go on.
Yeah, it was my honor to be part of your journey, and everyone else's. Rick was part of mine, and what Josh and Rick are talking about is the reason that I do what I do and the reason I did what I did. So it's people like you and Josh and Rick and Michael and all the other people on Six Screens that it's it's that one thing that can trigger us, and then we're like, oh my God, it's okay to be me. So kudos to everyone. Thanks for the kind words.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Did I get that right too? I know you put it up on Facebook. You're getting baptized tonight. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but I saw it on Facebook. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I put it up there. Yeah, it's Episcopalian. Yeah, They met my needs, and so that's what I'm doing.
Well, congratulations. That's a good thing. You're moving in a good direction. Good man, Steve.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Hey, Rick, I don't know what's going on over here. My apostate dog is going crazy. He's getting all excited, so sorry about the background noise.
Well, he heard that Steve was on. He wanted a little therapy session, you know?
Yeah. You know, he's still, you know, I'm going to put on the suite. I'm going to go back on the suite just now, but one thing I wanted to say, he's still eating my soon-to-be ex-wife's Kingdom Ministries and Watchtowers, you know? So he's still doing his activism as well.
Good boy.
Oh, there he goes. What's he drinking? Five-hour energy drink for the dog?
I don't know, man, but you see him going crazy, right? He'll probably pop up on the suite again. But we're unscripted here. We're not all serious. This is not NBC News. He's attacking me again with his chew toy. But we're real, and we love people.
Yep. That's where.
Anybody else out there? Go ahead.
I just I came in at the point where you were talking about disfellowship people who were shunning other disfellowship people.
Mhm.
And I did have an experience with that, but I don't know if it's too late.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I went out to a favorite club of mine. It was back in the 90s, and there was a brother who, you know, was disfellowshipped there at the club, and I was just hanging out, you know, with my friends and, you know, just dancing and just hanging out, and there was this brother who I knew from my congregation, and I knew that he was disfellowshipped. I don't remember how I found out he was disfellowshipped. But, you know, he was there, you know, he was, you know, hitting on women, drinking, and just, you know, doing his thing. And I saw him, and I said hello to him, and I said to him, and I don't know exactly what I said to him, but I said something to the effect of the religion, you know, being false. And he just changed like in a minute, and you know, he started talking about how I was speaking against Jehovah and speaking against the organization. I mean, he's in a club, you know, he's drunk, he's hitting on women, and then he's disfellowshipped. Then I mentioned that, and then he just, you know, was just defending the faith, you know, in a hypocritical state like that. And then it happened another time when I was at the mall with another individual who, when he was disfellowshipped, you know, when I was disfellowshipped, I was the one who was disfellowshipped first. This is someone in a different person in the congregation. And when this individual was reinstated, I didn't know that he'd been reinstated, and he just said to me, well, I'm reinstated now, and I'm not supposed to be talking to you. And he just walked off.
Wow.
So I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, those are my experiences, you know, when Jehovah's Witnesses' presence, you know, really, you know, made me feel bad. But I remember one sister who I was sitting at a McDonald's back in the days before I was a vegetarian, way back, and I was sitting at my table, and she just walked up to me and then put a tract down, you know, on my table and just walked away and didn't say anything to me. And it's like, wow. So I look back at all of that, and it's like, you know, it just, you know, the program.
What did she think? That tract was going to have some special juju powers and make you, you know, like you've never seen it before, and all of a sudden it was going to make you just have a change of heart or something?
I think that what she meant was that, you know, you just need to come back and, you know, the attitude, the energy was, I'm not supposed to be talking to you, but here, you know, here's this tract. So that's the part where I came in on the show, and sorry I wasn't able to come in sooner.
Doesn't it seem like... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, doesn't it seem like when you're a Jehovah's Witness, you always feel like you're above everyone else and better than everyone else just because you're a Jehovah's Witness, not because of your actions, but just because of that. So by being disfellowshipped but not talking to another person who you're supposed to shun, it almost makes them feel like, well, at least I don't talk to shunned people or something like that. Like they're almost trying to say, like, I'm still better than you because I'm not going to break that rule. Isn't that the funniest thing?
Yeah, they think they're getting kudos from Jehovah. And the other thing, I had another thought about that. Before I got this fellowship, I mean, I couldn't treat other disfellowship people that way. I mean, I would at least say hello to them. And most of them are just really, really hateful.
Very true.
I think my mom wants to chime in on what you were just saying, but she's not unmuted. Hold on a second here. You're on mute. Okay.
Okay, that's why I couldn't. Cause I was trying.
Hold on. Can you guys, Mom?
We can hear it quietly.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Okay. Try now, Mom.
Hi. Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes, we can hear.
Oh, okay. You know, you're a very strong woman. It comes through your voice and your conviction and everything. I came in a little late, but I came in where you were talking about your first child, your daughter that stayed with her husband. I know it must have took a lot of strength and a lot of conviction, like I said, to leave. Did you leave to another state, or were you in the same vicinity, seeing your daughter every day, or was it by, choice that you left, way, maybe another state or whatever? I'm not sure if I got that.
Yeah, I got what you mean. Well, when I left, first it was just because I was overwhelmed and I couldn't handle, being a Jehovah's Witness. So I moved out and had an apartment and started waitressing. And of course, like, I had a few roommates, and that all, crumbled really quickly. It didn't really last. So my ex was not letting me see my daughter anymore. He wouldn't even bring her over to visit me. So I was lucky enough to have a father that was never a witness, but my mom kept us from him growing up. But at that time, when I was desperate and had nobody, like, I would have literally been on the streets if it hadn't been for my dad. But I called him up and just said, can I come live with you? And he said, sure. So if I didn't have that, I would have been homeless. But my ex ended up moving, across the country back to his hometown with all his Jehovah's Witness family. He moved back there with my daughter. So then after that, I would work really hard to get to see her, and I would fly to where she lived, fly her back to my place, keep her for a couple weeks, and then fly her home. So I always made her a priority when I could, once my mind got cleared, And then after I remarried my second husband, and figured out, got the brainwashing out of my head, then from that point on, I always had a great home for her to come stay with me at, and she could see growing up I was nothing that they said, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses were, and I'm very thankful she got to see that. We have a very good life, a very moral life, a very kind and loving family, so she got to experience that and see that in my lifestyle too.
So she didn't feel like you abandoned her then. See, that's very important, because that triggered something in me, because when I was smaller, my mom, even though she was living there, she kind of left me with my grandmother. And all the stuff that happened to me, I always attributed to, if you didn't leave me, these things wouldn't have happened to me.
Yes, I mean,
not that I'm judging on it, because everyone has their own, reasons and whatnot. But she had other children, and I always felt that I was the inside looking in. So with your child that you have now, with your husband, do they have a relationship,
Well, I'll tell you, so I mentioned while I was talking how important therapy is. And at the time when I had my second daughter, I was going to therapy about, finding out the witnesses were wrong and everything. And that therapist really helped me, because she said, my daughter was 8 at the time. She said that's the age where they really blame themselves and internalize things. So from that time, I had very open conversations about how it wasn't her fault at all. I was sick when I did that. That I apologized for it. I knew her father is a very kind person. He is a Jehovah's Witness and he is fooled by them, but she has a very nice life with the family there. She's not being abused in any way. So I just had to keep the lines of communication open and apologize. Yes, I mean, the things that I did, I feel very bad for. Like, that was not something that I would ever do in my normal state of mind. But yeah, that's definitely something that I have a lot of compassion for her with, that I did that. And it might be part of why too that she feels like shunning me. It might be something deep down inside that she is holding against me, which I would understand too. So there's a lot of things to work out if she ever does.
That's a lot of insight, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's just sad. To me, it's just sad, that this cult. And I'm just recently, out. I've been out since maybe July, August, a little after Josh. I'm Josh's mom, by the way.
I'm so happy.
But I do still think that I am infected with it. I mean, I still think back on it, even though it seems like they changed everything since I left. I mean, they have a book now. They've changed everything. And I've been in it for 40 years, since I was in my 20s and Joshua was born. So, it was like, I don't recognize it now, but sometimes I feel like I'm missing something. I don't know if everybody feels that way or whatever. I miss maybe the association, or just thinking that, and you were right when you said sometimes we feel a little bit superior because we know the Bible. I could quote scripture. We read it, so you feel a little bit above everybody that don't know.
And,
And I'm sorry.
We went to a few churches, and we didn't have that love bombing and everybody coming up and hugging us and instant family. That's what we felt like we had as Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, you could go anywhere and have family anywhere. But the reality of it, like when we moved around a lot, when we go back to visit an old congregation with my bestest friends in the world, they acted like they barely knew us. It's almost like it's
my goodness, that's so true. Oh my goodness.
You're making me having flashbacks because that's one of the first things I said. Where's the love in this organization? Isn't it the key scripture is you know the truth by the love they have? And for the last 10 years, Josh, or more, that's not been true. It hasn't been true.
Yeah, what we do miss being fed those lies. It's still a part of us believe that we are in the most loving, religion, and we have these special insights to God. But those were all fake. I think when you start to miss that thing, you've got to tell yourself, the reality of it is it wasn't real. It was a pretend world.
It wasn't real, exactly.
Yeah. But there is, I want to give people a lot of hope because, we were taught that, worldly people will never understand the same things that we do, and they're not as kind and compassionate. They have no real love among themselves, all that stuff, or no natural affection. But it's really the witnesses that don't. So I say anybody just reach out there. Don't be afraid. Make some friends. A great outlet is something where, you can go work out with people. I did jazzercise, and that really helped me, just get to know people while you're doing something. So, it's so easy in the beginning, the first year or so, to just shut down and feel like you're alone in the world. But there are so many people that will be so kind and compassionate. Don't ever be embarrassed that I was in a cult, Don't ever be embarrassed. People would love to hear your story and talk to you, and they can help you through it.
It's just scary that when I heard where you said it usually takes about 5 years, that means I got 4 more years to go.
But
I'm like,
no. I think it's a little bit different if you find a tool sooner.
Sisters, I've been out for almost 20 years, and it never goes away, the pain. I was born in, and it never goes away. And you know what? that they came to my door and dropped me off some kind of.
They're not banished or done, but you can always.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, well, I think what she was saying, sister, it's not that the pain goes away. You know, we're always making, for many of us, we'll always still deal with it. I think what she meant about the 5 years of being totally convinced that it's not the truth, more so that, you know.
Okay, who are you? Who are you? I'm Lana.
Oh, hi. I've spoken to you before. I'm known online as David King, but I'm Josh. I'm the host of the program. But we've spoken before. Nice to see you again, hear from you.
Yes, but my pain never went away. Listen, baby, you could have been my son. I'm old. I'm 63.
I'm 62. Welcome to the club.
But the thing is, I was pretty much a born-in. My mother got the truth, the tat, when I was in diapers. So it may have been 1953, and I believed it up the gazoo. I believed it, all of it.
What made you wake up?
Well, when I got this fellowship, I had a girlfriend who was rich as hell. They're multimillionaires. And she committed adultery with an egg farmer in my town. I don't have to tell you where I live. But their name was mentioned. They're rich as hell. Nothing happened to her. And she used to come to my house, drunker than a monkey. And she would say, "Oh, I caught her doing her deeds, and I caught her." And nobody touched her. And then I saw the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy.
And the favoritism, right?
Yeah, because they were moneyed, and they donate to the society. They donate to the society. And do you know what that did to me?
Can you imagine?
Crushed me. And I caught her little ass screwing with this guy. Not only did she screw with him, she screwed with him for about 12 years.
Wow.
Which I didn't even know then. And we would go golfing 3 times a week. And I was so innocent, so naive. I was so naive. And then nothing happened to her. Nothing. You know why? They protected their name.
Right.
They protected
and this family, were there any elders and stuff in this family?
They were all elders.
Oh, wow.
They ran the kingdom hall.
Okay.
They ran the kingdom hall.
So things got swept under the rug.
I'll give you a name. Butch Ross collected all of the society's insurance. Do you know how rich he was? Do you know how rich he was?
Yeah, it just seems I've met quite a few very influential, affluential, rich witnesses that have deep pockets that donate a lot to the society, and it's like they're a cult within themselves, and their children.
Look at the New York community thing, and I heard that. I about shit myself, because that was Walters' Rambo. What's the old guy that calls out of Kansas?
Randy M?
Huh?
You said somebody that calls out of Kansas, so I don't know.
No. Add somebody. No. Rick knows. And he gave it on his show. And I was like, what?
Yeah, there's a lot of favoritism, a lot of corruption in this organization.
They were putting, I'm not going to say millions, but a couple $100,000 a year to this society. And that's the Kingdom Hall I went to. I knew they were multimillionaires. I was on their yachts. So let's just call a spade here.
We've all
okay. Well, thank you for contributing that, and nice to hear from you again. Rick, how are we doing on time?
No. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, we're not mincing words here. I hear you, sister. I just have to check because I know we have another program coming in. Rick, you there?
I'm right here, Josh. Yeah, we got about 10 minutes, and then we go to the 6 Screens Fellowship Program.
Rick,
okay, very good.
Rick knows me. My name is Lana. I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm not going to hide anymore. But they were such liars to me.
Yeah.
Millionaires.
Yeah.
And what did they do? Well, I got this fellowship for something that I was totally repentant for, and his sister called me a lowlife. And she used to tell me all the time about Alan Ross. He was a piece of shit.
Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. Go ahead.
Yeah, all the damage that it causes our hearts to go through that. Like, I can't imagine you being in there so long and then waking up to that. But what we owe it to ourselves is like things like this with researching and everything to heal our own hearts. It takes a lot of work and a lot of things that we have to do proactively to make our lives better and to help heal it. Because that pain, like you said, will never go away.
Honey, I'm about ready to die. You're a young girl, and I want you to know what the reality is. I want you to know what the reality is, that what they did to me was pretty much destroy me.
It is terrible. I am so sorry. That is terrible.
We're so sorry. We love you.
And I've listened to you. And I'm so sorry for what. How could you give up your daughter? I mean, that is your flesh and blood.
Well, she hasn't given up her daughter. She's keeping the lines of communication open, and she hasn't given up on her. And we're so proud of her for that.
At the time,
no. See, I have a different viewpoint. And we're allowed to debate.
Her daughter is the one that's saying she has to shun her. She didn't make that choice. Her daughter told her that she's not going to talk to her mother before. She never left her daughter. So let's call that a state. I mean, I'm sorry, but I just have to, just let's keep things truthful here.
I debate that because I was such a mother.
I'm sure you were, and Lindy's a mother too.
I would give my life for my daughter. I would give my life.
Well, can I tell you something, Lena? Like when I left, when she was
Lana, don't call me Lena.
Sorry, Lana. When I originally did not bring her with me, it was because I knew Jehovah would kill her if she was under me. Like they teach that, like a child under the parent, like any worldly children, will be killed in Armageddon. So it was out of love for her that I left her with her father, who was still Jehovah's Witness.
Do you know what? You're going back to Solomon. Who's the real mother? And I agree with you. I agree with you. Because I left my children one time because my husband used to sit me down and spit on me and call me a whore. I went through so much abuse. Well, where do you go?
Well, we all need to try to heal. We need to heal. We need to get therapy sometimes. We need to be supportive of one another. That's what we're trying to do. We're all trying to heal.
I'm not judging her. I'm not judging her, honey, because I did the same damn thing. I did the same thing. I would prefer to not let my children be exposed to me if I was so bad. But guess what?
So you understand that, yeah.
I wasn't bad. Right. I was never bad.
This is unfair.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, this is just another example of the damage that happens when dealing with Watchtower. As Rick says, we've all been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. We only got a couple more minutes left. Is there anybody that wants to say hi right before we sign off and go to our next show? One thing I want to say, for everybody that's listening in on the Cult Free Network, after this particular show is over, what's going to happen is I'm going to disconnect from this line. If you want to continue to listen in on all the shows, they go on all the way up to 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, you would have to call in on the main 6 screens line. Rick, can you just repeat that number? I don't have it memorized yet.
Yeah, in fact, when Josh's program drops off, if you want to stay on with us, dial 712-324. I'm sorry, that's not the number. 712-432-8710. That's all right, Delana. You're already on. You're already on the right channel here. Josh comes, he brings people in from a different network, but you're on the 6 screens, Lonnie. You stay with us when we come up next, okay? So the number is 712-432-8710. Those are for the people that aren't on the 6 screens. If you're listening in on the 6 screens, just stay where you are. Cult Network, you guys can listen in on that number. And then they're going to ask you for a pass number, a PIN number, 9925. 9925.
Make sure you press pound after the 9925, folks.
Yeah, it'll tell them to do that, too.
So okay, I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem, Josh. Well, then, Josh, thank you for coming in and hanging in there.
Yeah, and I want to thank Lyndi for staying on that extra hour. We went overtime because of the other show, but thank you so much.
Thank you for
having
me.
Lyndi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lyndi. You made a great present, and we hope to hear from you again.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
So, Lyndi, if you want to keep tuning in, you could just call on that other number as I sign off, okay? And I'll be looking for you out in cyberspace.
Yeah, I'll send you that name of the support group now through the Facebook.
Yeah, my mom just tells me she appreciated talking to you, too, as well. Okay, yes, Rick, so I'm signing off now. Go ahead.
All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to be going now to 6 Screens Fellowship. Normally we would have Breaking Free with Brennan, but Brennan couldn't come on today.